Hi everyone, this is Divine, and thank you for tuning in. I am following my series of videos. Wanted to touch base on the healing work, and if you're under a very stressful situation, and you're trying to get through it, regardless of what kind of stress it is. Some people are capable of handling a lot more stress and pain than others. And we can talk about in later videos how to build up the ability to take pain. But after years and decades on this, I don't think unless you're like in the profession of spy, espionage, etc., like in military or federal agents type of situation, I don't see how this in the civilian is helpful. But building that pain starts emotionally. Building that ability to take in pain, it starts emotionally and it goes into the physical. Um, I have a firm belief, very extremely firm belief, that everything starts internal and then it goes external. And everything starts in the unseen and then goes to the seen. Um, many what the people call secret networks, they're not so secret, right? They used to be some of them, right? Not all of them. But some of them were built around specifically what they call the mysticism, which is the unseen world. And then they put together the view of the unseen world from the Christian perspective, from the Jewish perspective, from the Arabs perspective, but from the Thaman's perspective, which is like the what do they call it? Vegans. So the unseen world, which is what I call the spiritual world, is a very real world. Whether you are religious or not, or I don't know what your beliefs are. And I wanted to, in terms of civilian, like people overall, to lead a happy and successful life. And success is dependent on what you view as success. You should be focused, it is my experience, that you should be focused on what makes you happy, not what brings you pain. And I'm touching base on this because the more you focus on your happiness or what makes you happy or what you can be happy about, the more your mind aligns to that purpose. As opposed to you training for pain, then your mind is gonna align for more pain to come. So there are many self-help books, etc. Many people lean towards it in times of stress, in death and loss, and they try to. Many of these help books try to focus on the pain and how to build the ability to take in a lot of pain. While I naturally can take in a lot of pain, not because I trained or tried or wanted, but just out of life circumstances, I don't recommend you go that route. Try to build pain tolerance because I understand that sensitivity we have for pain. Some people are more sensitive than others. The sensitivity means something. It's like when you put your hand in a stove, you can't feel the pain, your hand's gonna burn. So your sensitivity to pain is just higher. It's good. It's a higher senses that you have that pain is coming. And you don't want pain. You don't want to live a painful life. You don't want to make that your life. You want a life of love, a life of happiness, a life of joy, and a life of healing. So if that's what you want, you should be focused on the little things. If you don't have much to be thankful for today, focus on weatherly flowers, weatherly birds, something, anything in your life that you can be thankful for. Whether it be your job, your ability to pay for food, anything. And instead of trying to build a pain tolerance, because what happens when you try to build pain tolerance, you're telling your brains that their pain is on the way. So you need to create tolerance for it. If you're not in a situation, for example, let's go back to the military agents, whatever your line of work, if it's more dangerous, right? If you're not in that line of work where you're constantly dealing with danger that danger is your reality, you should not be building pain tolerance. You should be building towards a life of love, a life of care, and a life of joy. For those who are in that line of work, then building pain tolerance because you expect it, because that's your line of work and that's your choice of living, then that's what you need to be focused on. If you know pain is coming, then you have to tell your brains to prepare for the blow that's coming, right? So depending where you are in life, and I go back to you being the guide of your life, because only you know where you are in life. And again, it comes with awareness. You have to build that awareness to know where you are, know what you've chosen, and know your situation. And many people in the wellness and health and etc. Self-help books and those helping wellness programs, they try to focus on positivity, and it's why I call toxic positivity, because it's fake. If you're in a bad situation, you're in a bad situation. There is no I'm gonna wait till and pretend that the situation is good when the situation is horrible. That's when you're gonna hurt you. Lying to yourself is never the way. And that is and I stand very firm in this belief. Never lie to yourself. So a lot of people who say they studied law of attraction starts like spewing, they just put your head in the sand and say everything's great and remember think positively. I disagree with that completely. I think that is a misunderstanding. I firmly believe you have to look at your situation as it is, not as you want it to be. And there's many things I hope and pray for, and they say, oh, but if you are hoping for something, you don't fully believe it. And you have to remember, we live in a material world. It's called a 3D world, not material that we're seeking money. Sadly, the material world is called material world because most people are seeking money and material things. What we need is what we call the 3D reality versus a 5D reality, meaning the material world where there is a body, things that are material like a table, not just necessarily money, houses and cars, versus the vanity world, where is another name for the spiritual world, the unseen world, the mystical world, whatever you want to call it, the universal world, God's world. There are many names for the same thing. And at the end of the day, you are spirit having a physical experience. Another word for the material world is physical world. So in the physical world, things move slower. So many people also believe the mind is the creator. And I have a very firm disagreement to that because the mind is a tool. The mind is like one of your greatest tools, but it's not the creator. The mind does not create. The mind is the tool used to create, but by itself, it doesn't create. Your spirit is the biggest part of you. It's the eternal, infinite part of you, not your mind, your spirit. Your mind is your greatest tool. Therefore, you can sharpen it, you can make it better, you can make it slower, or you can make it faster. You can give it clarity, or you can give it awareness. You are in control of your mind, but you are not the mind. So, lying to yourself doesn't help you. You have to be able to, in order to fix your problem, you need to know what the problem is. And I think that's why our society is also crumbling because there are so many people out there trying to tell you just be positive and it's called fake positive. I disagree with that. Any sort of fakeness, I disagree with because at the end of the day, you're seeking, if you want a solution, you need to be in an authentic place, in a place of truth. And the truth will set you free. You have to identify the problem, not make up that the problem doesn't exist. You saying the problem doesn't exist does not make the problem go away. The problem's still there. So don't lie to yourself. Be real with yourself first. Foremost to yourself so you can be real with others, right? You have to be honest with yourself first so you can be honest with others. Identify the problem. Identify your areas of stress, your areas where it's causing you stress, so you can create a plan to fix it. And then you can be hopeful and positive about the plans. Once I fix this, everything will be great. Once I, because you're not lying to yourself. So fake positivity is when you lie to yourself. All these problems are going to get resolved. Some way, somehow, it's going to get resolved. I mean, extended problems don't just disappear. Sometimes you get lucky, and it's them trying to use the mind to affect your luck. But God created you all powerful. So you have to be able to solve your own problems where you can. Then you can go to the creative process. If it's a problem you cannot fix, then it's in God's hands. But 99% of the time, the problems we have are things within our reach. While there are problems, I do acknowledge that is out of our reach. But yeah, I have such problems. So I do acknowledge that those problems do exist. They're not majority of your problems. And you do need to do anything you can when you have that kind of problem where it's beyond your reach. And then you have nothing else to do but to get creative and use your creativity for it. So I in that sense, I do understand. But remember, God made you capable. God, universe, whatever you want to call it, brought you here with the tools needed to solve majority of your problems. So the way I look at things is I know where I am, I identify the problem, I identify the situation, and I try to create a plan where I can fix it. If it's beyond my abilities, then you have to come up with a plan of what can I do. And if there's nothing you can do, then you turn into the unseen world. And that's how I process things. Because at the end of the day, you do live in a physical world that moves slower. So you do have to accept where you are. And accept is not the word I'm looking for. And you do have to realize, I think that's a better word, where you are so you can move from this location and move forward in life. So if you're trying to move from, and then we can jump into time space realities, right? It's kind of similar to me. It is, if you're in a time space reality where you're unhappy with the situation, it's not giving you joy, it's not bringing you the results you wanted, or it's forcing you or threatening you to be someone you're not, or be someone you don't want to be, or the person you want to be is needs a different environment. You need to realize where you are, deal with the situation so you can move on. Um, if you're in a position where you can just throw the towel and just disappear, then that's on you. If you feel and you think and you analyze your situation, that'll be good for you, then you do it. Majority of the time, people do that. They didn't think things through. A lot of things fall apart because they didn't want to accept that they were where they were. And it's not to judge yourself, but it's to say, I'm here. It's not the greatest place. I couldn't be doing better. I couldn't be doing better. But this is where I am. And so I have to deal with this. And taking that step and holding yourself accountable for where you are in that part of your life. And remember, you can always better yourself to then put yourself in a better situation. But that requires awareness. And that the reason why I'm touching is because of awareness. And many people seem to romanticize darkness, is what I'm saying in society as well. Oh, being dark is not that bad. And I'm bringing darkness to this matter because if you create enough awareness, you can see that you have choices. To better your life, you have to make certain choices about yourself, about what you do, about everything, about how you treat people. What are you going to do today? What are you going to eat today? Every day, choices everywhere. Because our lives results is the total of our choices. So every choice you make, they do matter. Um, Maybe they seem small when you take them one by one, but once you put it in a lifetime, then it's a whole lifetime. And the choices, all those little choices together make up your life story. So it's important from what you're drinking, what you're spending your money on, from what you're dressing, you will see eventually it all adds up to make your story. And I want people to realize how much control they have over their story. 99%. So you always have those haters, they're outsiders that there's nothing you can do to affect because they hate themselves or they can't deal with themselves, deal with their lives, deal with their accountability. But we can do that to ourselves. While there will always be pieces of shit and psychopaths, we can choose to not be one and do better in this world. And while you meet people who will purposely see you doing better, see you growing so rapidly and so fast, and try to stop you just because they feel bad that you're growing so fast, and they're not because of their choices or lack of choices. Then they will purposely make their life's mission to stop you. That's sad, and that's what I'm dealing with. So I'm aware that there are circumstances in life where you, as much as you want to do everything you can to stop it, because you know the importance of your future, that is out of your hand, out of your control. And I hate it because it makes you feel powerless. And in certain situations in our lives, we learn that we are powerless. It makes a reminder to us that there is higher power in place. That is when we remind ourselves. Not that I need a reminder, but some people do. But it's a reminder to us that there is higher power in our lives. And so I wanted to touch bases on the choices again. Because it goes into darkness and light more than people realize it, right? From where are you getting coffee today to what am I spending my money with? What am I doing on a Friday night? To what clothes am I gonna wear? More than we realize. And so putting out the intention, like my previous videos, I talked about meditation early in the morning to set up your intentions for the day. And then before you go to sleep, to set up your subconscious, like what direction you want your subconscious to go into doing your sleep or a sleep meditation, which is, I love. I know you can set up intentions. And with that intention, you can focus your direction, which will be your choices for the day. Um, when I used to work in an office and stuff, I used to set up my intention and direct, for example, my clothes based on how I wanted to the kind of feel I wanted for the day. So I would dress on colors based on the color police or vibration. Each color has a vibration. I used to put together a color mix for vibrational purposes. It affects your well-being. It affects the vibe you live out. And it just affects your whole vibe overall. So from the clothes you wear to what you're choosing to eat, your coffee, you're supporting, companies that do good. Some people like just to make sure they are supporting companies that do well. That requires a lot of research of the company. Some people want to make sure they only buy certain coffees that are organic, they get a certain way, etc. So you decide because you build your way. Whether you want to drink coffee or not, maybe you want to go the route of tea because now you're doing this tea route because you're trying that out, because maybe it makes you feel better, maybe you're doing juicing, whatever it is, whichever path and what phase of your path you're on, everything you choose adds up at the end of the day, whether you think it's too small to count or not, it does count. Everything counts. Every choice you make, everything. So I'm gonna touch back on the darkness and light because some of these choices, even the little ones, will lead you in a path that's more towards light and one that's more towards darkness. Then you need to accept that the world, this time-space reality, is divided one. It's definitely a little, physical body. The physical body is the physical life, right? Not just the body. It's very dense. It's very physical. Our physical lives are very slow because it's dense. It's a dense reality. As opposed to a 5D reality in the mystical world, in the spiritual world, God's world, it's fluid. It flows. And it's about love. It's about fluidity. It's different. And you are that part of source, infinite. You're part of infinite, but it's stuck in a body. And if you allow it, the density of this physical world will consume your light. Or you can be so focused on your light that your light body will consume your physical body. Wow. What happens, I should say, depends on how you choose to live your life. This is what I'm trying to explain. Darkness as in your density. Like if you study demons are very dense. You can tell when someone's under the influence of, I want to call demon forces, but it could be darkness density. They're dense, they're lower vibration spirits. You can feel the difference between a light being and a dark being. Then they say, oh, it doesn't matter, and it does matter. Because if you're searching for a higher vibration, you want to stay away from lower vibrations. And that does, if you read enough about, study enough about demonology, and all that, demons do attach themselves to people who very dense, who can't let their light overcome their body. When the physical reality is overcoming your light, demons can easily attach. And another word for demons could be dark energies. Some people like to say dark forces. It is a duality existence, this time-space reality. So we have to take that into account. But a higher vibration, it's not duality, but there are lower levels. There are different dimensions. There's higher dimensions and lower dimensions. So that can be explained and I guess translated in turn. Lower vibrations, like demons, shadows, dark forces, and then higher vibrations, like angelic presence, godlike, spirit, godlike forces. So your choices define which area you want to go towards. So more density, lower vibration, more fluidity, higher vibration. But that's a concept. When trying to apply the concept into real life, there are a lot of mistranslations. And that's why I go back to it's huge on law of attraction, because they try to pretend sort of that the physical reality doesn't exist when it does. And they say ignore physical reality for a moment. For a moment, yeah, sure. In meditation, you're ignoring your physical reality completely because you're trying to touch a higher vibration, which is called to try to close the gap between spirit world and physical world. Because when they say in the Bible, heaven on earth, in spirituality translates to closing the gap, bridging the spirit worlds, the 5D to the 3D, which is called bringing heaven to earth, or that sort of it. It's all intertwined. The Bible, to meet. It's all one huge same thing, but different words. A lot of people can see it that way, but that's why I'm open to really try and do study religion. I just don't like the dogmatic part of religion itself. But I also study spirituality, then demons, etc. And so your choices and your intention set the tone of your day, and the day matters. Oh, each moment matters more than we give credit for. The moment we start realizing how important each moment is, it's the moment we can start living differently. And I just wanted to touch base on that because too many people are being guided to create, for example, going back to the beginning, more pain tolerance. When most people shouldn't. It doesn't apply to majority of the general public. It applies to certain people in certain situations. Like if you're fearing danger and danger is coming, yeah, you tell your mind create pain tolerance right now, but you also have to tell your mind when it's over. So majority of the people are not in a position where they're being tortured, where they're in constant pain, so they ended up torturing themselves because they didn't set the intention to stop it. They didn't tell them that battle is over. So whether you're battling cancer, health issues, parents that were horrible, personal situations, a stalker or several stalkers, whatever your situation is, once it's over, you have to remember to tell yourself, remember your mind degree is too, so tell your mind, it's over, now it's time for joy. And you have to set an intention and start what's called the visualization process for that to come. But it does not mean ignore reality in its completeness. You have to accept where you are. Not because that's where you want to be, but it's like when you are driving somewhere. In order you want to go to Mount Everest, in order for you to get to Mount Everest, you have to know where you are in the map so you can direct yourself to where you want to go. It's the same thing. It's not that once you know where you are and accept, oh, I'm here. I'm in the United States and I gotta go to Mount Everest, you know. There's a lot of driving to do. You have to accept where you are so you can redirect yourself to where you want to be. That's the point of accepting where you are. Not making that your home unless you want to. If you feel like where you are and you want to make that your home, that's what you should do. But if you are somewhere where you're trying to be in denial because you don't want to be there, denial is not good for you. Lying to yourself is not good for you. A lot of people use the law of attraction to say, oh, they said it's a huge lie to myself. No, they didn't. No one ever said lie to yourself. They said try to think positive about your future, not lie about your current situation. You have to accept the way you are. Make peace with it. I am where I am. It's not the greatest place. I could be doing better. I wish I could be doing better. And then you grow from there, but eventually I'll do better. There will be a time where I can be healthy again. There will be a time where I can be happy again. There will be a time where things will look good and I can just look back and laugh at this. You build it from there. But you don't start with everything is great when everything is not great because you're lying to yourself and your body knows when you're lying to yourself. If you start creating denial, you cannot work on yourself and your situation and create awareness, which is mandatory for self-growth if you're lying to yourself. So I just wanted to touch base on that because going back to healing, regardless of what we've been through, healing is a self-directed process. You start it, you take a break when you feel like you need to take a break. And if you need guidance, you look for guidance and you'll find it. And you tell yourself when it's time to enjoy the moment now because I'm in a good place. And you stop it because there's nothing to heal from. It's time to enjoy the life. And you tell yourself when it's because you're winning your life, not somebody else. It's the whole point. And in order for you to know where you are in your life, you do need to be extremely brutally honest with yourself for awareness purposes. So once you know where you are, you can decide, am I happy here or not? Or do I need to redirect myself to a better life, to a better way of being? And so I just wanted to put that out there because it's an extremely important part of the process. And I feel like not everybody talks about it, or maybe some people take it for granted because they're so drawn into, I want to hit the brakes and start running, and they don't even know where they are in the map. So you can hit the brakes and run where you're going to if you don't even know where you are in the map. You're going to don't know where. So I've seen a lot of people say they did self-helps. I don't know what self-help you do, but whatever they chose to do or were called to do, that doesn't work. But nothing's gonna work if you don't make peace with where you are. And remember, wherever you are, you will take yourself with you. So at the end of the day, a lot of times fixing yourself, your point of view, whether it be how you deal with situations, if you react too much, maybe you should react to less. Maybe you just need to learn how to apologize about whatever it is. A lot of times this can fix a lot of the problems that are around. Like I said, there are many, no matter how much you work on yourself, many instances in our lives that there will be external things that we have no control of. Then if you have no control of it, you have no control of it. You know, that you can't try to control something that is beyond you. And but that's the majority of life. Majority of life, majority of our problems. It's something that we have control of. And that's where we want to keep our focus on. Not that 1% or maybe nowadays a little bit more than 1% because I think society went a little too crazy. But whatever that small amount is, we want to focus on the ones that we can affect. And that's where you find your power. If you are constantly looking at that little percent that you can't fix, that there is nothing you can do about it, you will always feel powerless and impotent. Because you're focusing in the area and it's in the impossible. And something that you cannot do. You have to, I don't know if you pray, meditate, whatever you do your peaceful offerings and hope and pray and trust that the universe will have your back. And meanwhile, you focus on what you can do. Then you made a promise to God, the universe, that you do the best on your end and trust that they will do the best on their end. That's all you can do. And if everybody would live this way, we would have peace. But sadly, too many psychopaths nowadays, narcissists, etc. So I put that out there. I hope you're doing great. I hope you're having a great week. Have a great weekend. And please do your YouTube thing. And thank you for stopping by. Have a great weekend. Thank you.